The Amazon rainforest is a world of its own. We call it the green hell for a reason. It is vast, dark, and full of mystery. Every step you take can be your last if you are not prepared. The air is thick and heavy with moisture, and the sounds of unseen creatures fill every moment. It is a place that demands respect. You have to be on your game constantly, always looking, always listening. Survival here is about staying one step ahead of what wants to eat you. It is the ultimate test of your skills and your will to live. In this incredible world, there are legends, stories passed down through generations of local tribes. The most feared of all is the story of the giant Anaconda. This is not just any snake. This is the apex predator of the Amazon's waterways. They say it can grow to incredible lengths, thicker than a man's body. The locals speak of it in hushed tones, a creature of immense power. They believe it is a spirit of the river, a guardian that can swallow a person whole without a trace. This is not a monster from a movie. It is a real and present danger. Our expedition pushed deep into this unforgiving environment. We were here to document the incredible biodiversity, but we were also chasing the legend. We wanted to see if the stories of these colossal snakes were true. The jungle closed in around us, a wall of green that seemed to have no end. The heat was relentless, and the insects were a constant torment. Every day was a struggle, pushing our bodies and minds to the limit. We knew the risks, but the pull of discovery was stronger. The Amazon doesn't give up its secrets easily, and we were about to find out why. The fear of the anaconda is not just about its size, it is about how it hunts. It is a master of camouflage, blending perfectly with the murky river water and the muddy banks. It can wait for days, motionless, for the perfect moment to strike. Its attack is silent and brutally efficient. It does not use venom. It uses pure, raw power. It wraps its muscular body around its prey, and with each breath the victim takes, the snake tightens its grip. It is a terrifying way to go, a slow and powerful squeeze that ends all hope. This is the reality of the creature we were seeking. Our guide, a man named Mateo who had lived in the jungle his entire life, started to grow uneasy. He would stop often, sniffing the air and scanning the muddy riverbanks. He pointed out things we would have easily missed. A large, smooth trail disappearing into the water, too wide for any creature we knew. He showed us broken branches high up on the riverbank, snapped by something of immense weight and size. Mateo spoke little English, but his gestures and the look in his eyes were clear. He was warning us. He was telling us that we were in the territory of something very, very big. The warnings were not just physical signs. They came in the form of stories he told around the campfire at night. He spoke of a great serpent, a mother of the river, that protected these waters. He said it did not like intruders. He described how other animals, even jaguars, would give this part of the river a wide berth. He told us a story about a fisherman from his village who disappeared years ago, leaving behind only an overturned canoe. The village elders said the great anaconda had claimed him. We listened, a mix of fascination and growing unease spreading through our team. As we traveled deeper, the jungle itself seemed to change. The usual chorus of birds and monkeys grew quieter. There was an eerie silence that settled over the river, a stillness that felt unnatural. Even the caimans, usually seen basking on the logs, were nowhere to be found. It was as if all the wildlife knew something we did not. Mateo kept his hand on the machete at his belt, his eyes constantly scanning the water's edge. He told us to stay close and make no sudden movements near the river. The feeling that we were being watched was becoming overwhelming. One afternoon we found a capybara carcass near the water. It was a huge animal, easily weighing over 100 pounds. But its ribcage was crushed into a pulp, the bones shattered as if squeezed by an incredible force. There were no bite marks, no signs of a jaguar or a puma. Mateo just pointed at the carcass and then at the river, his face grim. La Madre, he whispered. The mother. It was the most direct evidence we had seen yet. A creature that could do this to a large capybara could certainly do the same to a human. The reality of the danger was sinking in. We made camp on a high bank, a few hundred feet from the river's edge. We thought the elevation would give us some safety. As dusk fell, the jungle transformed. The familiar sounds of the day were replaced by a new, more sinister orchestra. The air grew cold, and a thick fog rolled in from the river, blanketing our camp in a ghostly white shroud. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, sent a jolt of adrenaline through us. The darkness was absolute, and our headlamps could only cut small holes in the oppressive blackness that surrounded us. It felt like we were trapped in a small bubble of light. Sleep was impossible. The sounds were a constant assault on the senses. There were low growls that we couldn't identify, and strange, deep, slithering sounds that seemed to come from just beyond the firelight. Was it just the wind, or was it something more? Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined a massive serpentine head emerging from the darkness. The tension in the camp was a physical thing. We were all on edge, our hands never far from our knives or machetes. We were a group of experienced explorers, but that night, we felt like frightened children. Mateo did not even try to sleep. He sat by the fire, sharpening his machete with a stone, his eyes fixed on the darkness that led down to the river. He was chanting softly in his native tongue, a prayer or a plea to the spirits of the jungle. His fear was contagious. He knew this place, he understood its rhythms, and his behavior told us that something was deeply wrong. He warned us not to go anywhere alone, not even to the edge of the camp. The hunter was out there, he said, and it was patient. It was waiting for a mistake. The most terrifying sound came just before dawn. It was a deep, resonant exhalation, like a huge bellows emptying its air. It was close, too close. It was followed by the sound of something incredibly heavy dragging itself across the forest floor. We all froze, our hearts pounding in our chests. The sound moved slowly, deliberately, circling our camp just out of sight. It wasn't trying to be stealthy. It was letting us know it was there. It was a display of dominance, a warning. The great Anaconda was marking its territory, and we were in the middle of it. Morning could not come soon enough. As the first light of dawn broke through the canopy, we felt a wave of relief. But our ordeal was far from over. We had to break camp and move on, which meant going back down to the river. We packed quickly, our nerves frayed. We decided to send one of our team members, a young biologist named Ben, down to the water's edge to check the boat. He was careful, scanning the area before he approached the river. But the Anaconda is a master of its element. It was not on the bank, it was in the water, perfectly hidden beneath the murky brown surface. The attack was shockingly fast. One moment Ben was standing by the boat, and the next, a massive dark head erupted from the water. It was as thick as a telephone pole. It didn't bite. It simply lunged forward, using its head as a battering ram to knock Ben off his feet and into the shallows. Before he could even scream, a massive coil shot out of the water and wrapped around his legs. Then another wrapped around his waist. He was dragged into the river, the water churning as the giant snake began to constrict, its immense power on full display. Our training kicked in. Panic is a killer in the wild. We rushed down the bank, yelling and screaming to try and intimidate the snake. Two men grabbed Ben's arms, trying to pull him back to shore, but it was like pulling against a locomotive. The snake was impossibly strong. I grabbed my largest knife, and Mateo wielded his machete. We plunged into the waist-deep water, stabbing and hacking at the thick, muscular coils. The snake's skin was like tough leather, and our blades seemed to have little effect. Ben was gasping, his face turning blue as the snake tightened its grip. It was a desperate, primal struggle. We were fighting for our friend's life against a living embodiment of the jungle's power. For what felt like an eternity, the snake, would not let go. It was focused solely on its prey. Then, Mateo, with a surge of adrenaline, managed to land a deep blow with his machete near the snake's head. The creature recoiled in pain. Its grip loosened for just a second, but it was the opening we needed. We pulled with all our might, and Ben came free. We scrambled back onto the bank, dragging him to safety as the wounded anaconda thrashed in the water and then disappeared into the depths. The legend was real, and we had survived it.